Jamaica might be sitting on a secret that could change the global oil game, and it's buried beneath the sea. In this video, we are going to look at the untold story of Jamaica's bold leap into offshore oil exploration. For nearly 70 years, failed drills and dry wells silenced the country's energy dreams, but a new frontier has opened up with modern seismic data, revealing a potential 7 billion barrel jackpot. From billion-dollar risks to geopolitical advantages, this is a story of redemption, technology and hope. And it all hinges on one critical test. If it succeeds, it could trigger an oil rush that redefines Jamaica's future. Miss this story and you'll miss history in the making. For decades, Jamaica has chased the dream of finding oil beneath its turquoise waters. Beginning in 1955, 11 exploratory wells were bored offshore until 1982. Each ended empty, none producing viable resources. A few wispy traces of hydrocarbons teased promise, but never enough to change reality. The result, island-wide skepticism rooted in dashed hopes. While these disappointments piled up, Jamaica shifted focus onto tourism, bauxite exports and remittances. But behind the scenes, energy ambitions never fully vanished. They simmered, waiting. Then in 2020, a spark of transformation appeared. United Oil and Gas, a British firm, secured a massive 22,400 km2 license in Jamaica's underexplored Walton Morant Basin. Yes, that size is larger than the island itself. That acquisition was the dawn of one of the most audacious Caribbean exploration campaigns in years. Jamaica's early oil attempts faced serious constraints. Explorers had to rely on analog tools, blurry seismic data, and decades-old reports. It was a shot in the dark. Fast forward to today, and the game has changed entirely. Since 2020, United Oil and Gas has poured over $39 million into high-resolution 2D and 3D seismic imaging. They've taken seabed samples and analyzed complex geological formations. All of this modern science paints a far sharper picture than past adventurers ever had. By 2023, environmental permits were granted and a beach license was approved for piston core sampling. An important next move. It's a less flashy but crucial step, inserting a probe into the seabed to check if hydrocarbons are even present. It's the final risk check before spending tens of millions on drilling. But despite all this preparation and compelling data, Jamaica has still never drilled a commercial well. And that leads to the big question: why is everyone suddenly talking about this? 5 reasons Jamaica isn't just dreaming anymore. First, we begin with the potential reward. Independent assessments from United Oil and Gas, UOG, and the renowned consultancy firm Gaffney Klein estimate that the Walton Morant Basin, located off Jamaica's southern coast, could hold as much as 7 billion barrels of unrisked oil resources. This is not just a hopeful number, it's a game changer. For a country with no prior oil production history, the prospect of tapping into such vast energy reserves represents a transformative opportunity for economic growth, energy independence, and national development. Secondly, there's the standout exploration target within this basin. Out of the 21 mapped prospects, one named Colibri is drawing the most attention. According to UOG's data, Colibri alone could hold up to 400 million barrels of oil. It carries a 19% geological chance of success, a figure that could climb to 33% if piston core samples confirm the presence of hydrocarbons. While these odds might seem modest at first glance, in the high-stakes world of frontier oil exploration, they are actually considered quite promising. Third, geography is working in Jamaica's favor. The basin's water depths range between 50 and 2,000 meters, which is considered relatively shallow in offshore drilling terms. Compared to ultra-deep water ventures like Guyana's massive Starbrick block, this shallower profile translates into reduced operational costs, faster deployment timelines, and simplified logistics. Fourth, modern technology has changed the game. Unlike in past decades, when earlier exploration attempts failed due to limited data, YOG now has access to 3D seismic surveys, evidence of hydrocarbon seeps, and detailed reservoir analysis. These tools provide a solid technical foundation, suggesting the basin truly functions as a viable petroleum system. This is exploration based on science, not speculation. Finally, regional momentum is building. Neighbouring Guyana has already unlocked a multi-billion-dollar offshore oil boom, drawing the attention of global energy giants. Further south, Namibia is emerging as another frontier success story. As oil majors seek opportunities beyond the overexplored North Sea or Gulf of Mexico, Jamaica now stands on the radar. With its basin mapped, data in hand, and regional tailwinds at its back, the country may soon find itself at the centre of the next big offshore discovery. The stage is set, and the world is watching. But let's talk money. Drilling offshore isn't cheap, it's expensive. A single exploratory well can cost upwards of $30 million, sometimes as much as $50 million. UOG is a small-cap player. As of early 2024, its cash reserves shrank from $2 million to under $800,000. That barely keeps the lights on, let alone funds a drill ship. The company faces a tight deadline. They must raise at least $1.3 million by November 2024 to maintain operations through that critical piston core phase. They're in non-disclosure agreements with undisclosed majors, pitching a compelling case. A shallow water play, low-cost, environmentally conscientious, in a geopolitically stable region. On top of that, the Jamaican government has extended licenses through January 2028 and offers a fiscal framework that rewards early movers. The pieces seem aligned, except for the money. No capital means no drill, no data, no further progress. So what's changed since those barren early attempts? Everything. First, seismic surveys have gone from patchy maps to over 2,250 square kilometers of 3D imaging, sharper and more accurate than anything in the past. Second, the regulatory environment is now stronger, with long-term licensing and environmental oversight baked into the system. Third, technology has advanced from crude rigs to piston core seabed sampling. They can now de-risk a well before drilling begins. Fourth, the investor climate is drastically different. Frontier basins once deemed too risky are now hot, fueled by successes in Guyana and Namibia. Finally, the global context has shifted. Oil prices are historically higher than during earlier eras, supply chain pressures persist, and the world post-COVID is hungry for energy altar. Here's where things take an unexpected and cinematic turn. If United Oil and Gas's calculations are even partially correct, Jamaica's offshore territory may not just contain oil, it might hide an entire petroleum system sprawling across multiple leads. And these aren't just dry geological names. The company has named several prospects after James Bond characters and titles. Yes, you heard that right. Names like Moonraker, Thunderball, Blofeld, Oriole and Yolanda light up the maps. Each name reflects a unique geological structure under the seafloor. Some are large anticlinal traps, others fault blocks or carbonate plays. Colibri, the lead prospect, is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the waters lie layers of potential, woven with narratives that feel part geology, part espionage thriller. But here's the kicker, none of these sites has been drilled yet, not a single well. Everything we know is based on seismic data, simulations, seabed samples and scientific modelling. The entire country's dream, UOG's survival, and global investor attention hang on one final step, the piston core sampling mission. If those seabed cores reveal biomarkers of hydrocarbon presence, natural signs of oil activity, then the data can be de-risked. That means scientists can better prioritize where to drill, investors feel more confident, and the entire operation can pivot from theory to action. But if the cores fail? If the samples show no convincing signs of hydrocarbons, the entire momentum could vanish like mist in the Jamaican breeze. In other words, this is a tightrope walk. The fall could be painful, but the reward? Game-changing. You might be wondering, why all this attention now after years of silence? Well, part of it comes from what's happening elsewhere. Guyana, once dismissed just like Jamaica, now produces over 380,000 barrels of oil per day from its offshore Stabroek block. ExxonMobil and partners struck gold there, literally and figuratively. The transformation of Guyana has been jaw-dropping. Billions in investments, economic growth rates topping global charts, and more than 11 billion barrels discovered so far. Then there's Namibia, another underdog-turned-headline story. In 2022, Shell and Total Energies made blockbuster discoveries off Namibia's coast, proving that overlooked basins can hide world-class reserves. Investors took notice. Suddenly, exploration dollars started flowing toward regions once ignored. Jamaica finds itself in that same category. A so-called frontier basin with high geological potential but little prior activity. And there's a bonus. Jamaica is politically stable, with a democratic system and legal framework favourable to foreign investors. That's a key ingredient missing in other resource-rich but unstable nations. Combine that with shallow water, modern seismic imaging, and a 7 billion barrel prize, you've got a recipe that energy giants simply can't ignore for long. For the Jamaican people, this isn't just an oil story. It's a story of hope, risk and transformation. If the Walton Morant Basin lives up to even a fraction of expectations, it could rewrite the nation's economy. Imagine what a successful discovery could mean. Billions in royalties and taxes flowing into the economy. Energy independence, reducing the country's reliance on imported oil. New jobs across technical, logistical and administrative sectors. Infrastructure investment, education programs and revitalized local industries. Jamaica could even become a regional energy supplier, exporting oil to Caribbean neighbours or beyond. But there's also the risk of what's often called the resource curse, where oil brings more problems than benefits. Corruption, environmental degradation and income inequality are common side effects if proper oversight isn't in place. Countries like Nigeria have struggled under that burden. Meanwhile, others like Norway have used oil wealth to build strong sovereign funds and transparent governance. The key is how Jamaica prepares, now before a single barrel is found. The government has started that preparation. They've enacted new petroleum regulations, created energy task forces, and set rules for licensing and partnerships. But this journey is only beginning. And it all hinges on what the piston core sampling reveals. This is the moment everything pivots. UOG's entire exploration campaign, 4 years of seismic imaging, environmental assessments, investor meetings and offshore permits, all comes down to a single targeted operation, pulling up cylindrical cores of sediment from the ocean floor. These aren't flashy oil gushers. They're quiet, scientific samples, collected and shipped to laboratories where they'll be tested for hydrocarbons, thermal maturity and organic richness. If even a few cores show signs of oil, it sets off a domino effect. The data becomes more credible. The odds of success at Colibri and other Bond-themed prospects rise dramatically. Major players start calling, drilling rigs get scheduled, Jamaica moves from theory to action. But if the samples come up dry, all that excitement deflates, investor attention fades, UOG's financial survival becomes uncertain. Jamaica may have to shelve its oil dreams once again, or wait for another company to try its luck in the next decade. So yes, it's just a sampling mission, but its outcome carries the weight of national potential. Jamaica isn't just chasing a wild idea anymore. With advanced seismic data, a favourable regulatory climate and regional exploration momentum, this small island nation stands at the edge of something massive. 7 billion barrels, a single high-potential prospect, and one tiny window of opportunity that could flip Jamaica's energy narrative forever. The science is real, the stakes are high, the only missing piece is the capital to drill and the courage to take the risk. This is what modern frontier oil exploration looks like. Not just data and money, but dreams, risks, and the hunger for transformation. Jamaica's offshore oil story is no longer just a dream. It's a high-stakes energy gamble backed by science, strategy, and ambition. The nation may be standing at the edge of an economic transformation, with global investors watching closely. But everything hinges on that one piston core sampling mission. If it succeeds, it could unlock billions in oil wealth, reshape the Caribbean's energy future, and finally give Jamaica its place in the oil spotlight. If it fails, the wait continues. What do you think? Boom or bust? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more bold energy stories.